Good morning. I am starting a new series. It is called Tea, Coffee, and Torah, where we're going to talk about things from a biblical perspective. It can be life, world events, things in our lives or just something that I want to share. But we're going to do it with a good old cup of joe, and hopefully we'll have a lot of fun. So one of the first questions that I have for you guys is, would you like for this series to be on Facebook, X, YouTube, or some other platform? Just drop it in the comments below, and we'll see what we can do. So one of the first things that I'd like to discuss from a biblical perspective is going to be the events happening in the UK right now. I don't know how much media coverage is really, from what I hear rather, there's not a lot of media coverage in the United States of what's going on in the UK. For about the past 8 years now, UK has pursued a policy of open borders. Massive, massive immigration. Things where people are not vetted, just really open borders where kind of the worst of all the other nations are coming into the UK. And now that policy and the consequence of that policy is really coming to fruition. You have immigrants who are now rioting against native-born British, and there's all sorts of violence. It's about to be, it's hard to call it a civil war when it's really an uprising of immigrants. Something that world history records happens over and over again. So this is nothing new in the course of human history. But there are so many people in the biblical world, pastors, teachers, rabbis, who have all shouted the alarm. They've all sounded the alarm regarding pursuing this policy. So I'm going to grab a cup of joe here. And what everybody has said is that allowing immigration, massive immigration, into your land results in destabilization. But how is it that Judeo-Christians and Jews had a better handle on this, a better perspective than your most educated academics and policymakers, whether it's in America, in the UK, or in the UN? How did people from a biblical perspective, who have a biblical perspective, how did they understand this? And I want to share something with you from Scripture that is a great understanding for public policy. And this comes from Deuteronomy 28, verses 43. It says, "And the stranger that is within you will get high above you, and you will get very low. You will come down." And then it goes on in verse 45 to say, "Moreover, all the curses of the law shall come upon you. They will pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed." Because why? Is this something that's open-ended, something where it cannot be reversed? No, this is what it says. It says, "Because you did not hearken and listen to the voice of Yahweh your God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded you." So the antidote really to all of this nonsense and chaos that we're seeing today is returning to the commandments. You find, at least I have found, that pastors, teachers, and rabbis, I'm sorry, there's really, I don't find that there's any group of religious people that are exempt from this. I find all theologians, even scholars, are very, very guilty of just openly denigrating a idea. Not for the sake that the idea doesn't work, but there is a shift in power. When you can make something seem worthless, when you can make something seem empty and impotent, there becomes a vacuum. And in that vacuum, it just naturally calls to be filled. So who's going to fill it? Well, the teachers and the rabbis themselves are going to be the ones who fill it. Whether it's a pastor, a scholar, in the absence of something that is constant, a moral value and a sense of ethics and standards that we can all agree on, man will fill that vacuum. So from my perspective, we have, over the course of history, if you look at the past, oh my goodness, probably 4,000 years, even since the days of Moses, we have really developed an addiction to man. We try to form these superheroes, these ideas of man, where they transcend the ordinary. And we totally dismiss a divine plan that is capable of unifying all of us, each of us, something we can stand on, even in the absence of leaders. In the absence, if you guys hear some scraping, I'm out on the porch and there is a cat who is dying to get out here and join us. So that's what all that scraping is. But, you know, I have to laugh at some of the absurdity today, because, I mean, our grandparents would just be calling us so crazy. For about 8 years, we've had our pundits who decry white colonialism and colonizing all the places of the earth. You know, whether it's South Africa or Tanzania or other parts of Asia. But at the same time, now you have all these immigrants that are now trying to colonize the UK, overthrow the UK, and you're not hearing it, but there's this open call for Sharia law. And anybody who stands up against them, a couple days ago, there were massive protests in the UK where native-born Britons were saying, we don't want open borders. And now those mobs are, they're coming into their homes. They are attacking anybody who is known to be part of those protests. So the civil liberties that we have taken for granted, that we have not fought for, that we have just turned a blind eye to, guess what? We are now losing those because of the fact that we are complacent. We are complacent with a divine law that is capable of restoring what we have lost. And it can come so easily. But what it takes you and I beginning to have a dialogue, beginning to have a discussion, and beginning to have that conversation where we say, you know what? Let's not focus on everything that divides us. Let's start focusing on the things that unite us. And when we start doing that, we discover that we actually agree on far more than what we disagree. So this is my first episode. I'm actually going to come back on here in a few minutes with an episode number 2. I am hoping to do these about 3 days a week, and we will just proceed from there. So give me a few minutes. I am going to come back on, but I'm wanting to keep these too short and not get too long. Thank you.